GG everyone, a bit of a later one today. We are obviously in the house with DITH today. Greeny's still overseas, so it'll just be myself today. But first and foremost, DITH, welcome to the show, brother. Welcome back. How are you?
Yeah, hey brother. All good here, man. How about you?
Yeah, dude, I'm really well, thank you. It's 4 p.m. here, so it's actually quite a good time for me. And I'm guessing is it morning for you now?
AM, yeah, 10 in the AM. Nice to do like not a super late night spaces for a change.
Yeah, I did one the other week for the Bodogos a bit later at night, and God, I must admit, it actually smashed me for the next morning. For the next stream I had the next morning, I was so tired. I was like, man, I need to not do late night streams again. It actually actually hurt me more than I thought.
It's
Dude,
yeah.
Everyone listening, next thing I'll be complaining about my back being sore, but it actually is. But look, thanks for DITH for jumping on. Obviously, DITH, for those who don't know, is the dev / CR, I suppose we could call it, of Gigaverse, one of the games on Abstract. If you don't know what Gigaverse is, guys, I did an interview with DITH. I just had a look, and it was over 4 months ago, which is like nuts to me. But yeah, so go and check that video out. We run, from top to bottom, just about where this come from, how you got into gaming, and et cetera, how you got started with Gigaverse. And then we are a bit limited on time. DITH, we're just talking offline, you have almost a newborn, don't you?
He's just turned over a month old. So yeah, I mean, I had arrived a little bit earlier than we expected. So there was this very sort of like chaotic moment where we barely made it to the hospital in time. And then I was out for a few weeks, just kind of clocking in that quality family time.
Yeah,
I didn't get to do that much with our first kid, and it just kind of built up a kind of a bit of debts to pay off in terms of like actually being present. So made sure not to make that mistake again. And now we're getting to a really good routine and pretty much back at my desk. So just been picking up on where we left things off, and just excited for the next few months of Gigaverse, obviously.
Yeah, how has that been? How's the transition been from? I mean, I'm a dad as well. I've got a 9-year-old boy, and so I've done it once before. This is obviously your second. How is it? How did you find? You're obviously a game dev and you've got a pretty successful game going. How did you find the time management were you able to take a step back, I suppose, what I'm asking, while, the game got taken care of on the side, or was it pretty intense for you doing both?
I mean, the team is locked in. They're awesome. And so, they made it pretty easy for me, right? Just like they kept things moving, per usual, shifted a bunch of things around, added some things to the roadmap, pushed a few things back. That's very, very normal for how we operate. But yeah, I mean, they did all the heavy lifting while I was out, and like afforded me, as I say, that sort of like important quality time, which I didn't get to have the previous time, and so grateful for that. And then I think like what I would say is like I've always been a pretty sort of sort of ADHD type multitasker, where I like actually having a lot of things going on.
Yes.
If life's ever too simple, or I'm only ever got kind of like one thing cooking, it's I don't know, it's always it's like an itch that I need to scratch. So I like that there's stuff happening in the household, multiple things cooking at Gigaverse, and I need to kind of like it's almost a bit of a game actually, right? The time optimization. And I mean, this as time goes on and that routine becomes more and more predictable, and your baby's getting more and more sleep, it also gets easier.
It does.
Which should coincide nicely with some of the stuff that we're working on. And Gigaverse is going to like there's going to be times in the near future that we need to push really hard on some of the feature releases that we have coming up. So timeline for the most part is actually working out like in a pretty nice way, that my kid ended up coming a bit earlier than expected.
Yeah, I was going to say the cadence at which you guys ship is pretty impressive. And apart from that, I haven't seen anything on the timeline about you guys that has made any comments about you guys aren't shipping features or you're slipping up. I've seen nothing that would even lead me to believe you had a kid. In fact, if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't know. So that's I guess that's a good sign, right? The team's doing what they need to do, whereby you can go do what you need to do, and things still run quite well. Which is, I mean, I've owned businesses before, and that's bloody hard to achieve, like so hard. So
No.
that's
Yeah.
that's probably. I did have someone ask. Rizuka couldn't come to the chat, so he did say to say good day, and he said, Craig, make sure you ask how Cyclops the cat is. How
Yeah.
how is Cyclops?
Cyclops doing great.
Yeah.
I did receive, so there's like a neighborhood, let's call it like the neighborhood lads group, which is like a WhatsApp group for just for the men or the dads that live in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And someone reached out saying like, hey, there's like a big discussion about Cyclops in the group. There's something that, like, I wasn't in the group, so they're like, yeah, there's a big discussion about Cyclops. Need to invite you in so you can see what's going on.
What?
So they invited me in the other night, and then I couldn't actually see anything. So I don't know if it was like I got invited to the wrong group or something, but
Yeah.
I suspect he's just up to the usual level of mischief. Like, our neighbor complains to us all the time that, like, hey, your cat comes into our garden, fights our cat, and takes dumps here. From our perspective, it's amazing. Like, Cyclops, there's never anything to clean up in our garden. So
that's good. My neighbor's cat does the same thing. We don't even have a cat, and I have to pick up the cat shit, man. I'm like, God damn that cat. But you know what? That's just what you accept. When there's cats in the neighborhood, man, you can't stop them roaming. There's nothing you can do. They have to roam. So let Cyclops roam.
Cyclops he's a roamer. Yeah, he's definitely like a free spirit, does whatever the hell he wants.
I think he deserves to be able to as well.
Yeah. So I mean, he's doing really well. I was asked for more photos of him, so I will share that with. I don't know if your mate is in the Cyclops Telegram group, but once I have a chance, I'm just gonna grab some fresh photos and circulate some cat porn.
So for people who don't know, Cyclops is DITH's cat who has one eye, and I believe from memory, DITH adopted the cat, and the cat actually features in the Gigaverse game. He's in the game, in nearby the fishing area actually. We spoke, just to get on with the game, we spoke about 4 months ago, which in crypto world is years almost. This question I was gonna keep for the end, but I thought I might just ask it up front. Since we sort of spoke 4 months ago, and that was, I think, prior to the fishing almost, I was going to ask, what is your favorite thing you've shipped for that game? What's the thing that makes you most proud?
Ooh, good question. I think 4 months probably honestly has to be the stub system, because really, where the game was, where all these games struggle, right? If you look at how and why Gigaverse is such a hard, why it's like a hard game to build. If you're trying to make a kind of a game economy or an ecosystem full of pump-mentals, what you do is you have items that are in like finite supply, right? They're scarce or they're caps. You introduce like penalties, like usually it's in the form of taxes or high fees for people who sell too much. Mm-hmm. You introduce like maybe really clear and obvious benefits for the people who buy more. And we're kind of playing on a harder mode there, right? Because we have like almost all items right now are inflationary. There can only be more of them. Mm. We're not doing anything to penalize people that are constantly selling. We're not doing anything publicly, at least, to like show people who are accumulating or collecting or actually using their items to progress in the game are being recognized in a different way from the sort of like kind of the constant sellers. Mm. So it's a harder economy actually to manage if what's true is that like most people here like to play games with this clear ROI and they feel good when numbers go up and the floors are pumping and the rest, which I think is certainly the case, right, for the vast majority of people.
Yeah.
So launching the stub system was the beginning of us going like, all right, like now that the game initial traction, initial PMF is there, and we have a core community, we need to start like turning our guns towards the economy, looking after it, making sure that like there's a feel good factor. there's obviously a lot more that needs to be done. But the stubs was like the very first like sort of big take that we had. At the meme that comes to mind is the dude slapping the piece of duct tape on that massive leaky water tank.
Yeah.
So we slapped that massive piece of duct tape on, and there's actually like a few other holes as well that we'll get to in time. But yeah, I mean, like I think that was for most players not a gameplay feature, but something really important when you look back at like what's the core motivator or the core thing that like brings joy and interest to a community of crypto gamers.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's the exact thing that for me keeps bringing me back, is those stubs. Because it kind of feels, like you said, it kind of feels successful. And also I think it appeals perhaps to the people obviously trying to earn XP in abstract, which is myself. So it adds like it's almost a double reward system, e.g. when you're doing the fishing game. For those who don't know, you can do fishing in the game, which is quite cool. I was actually collecting chimpers before,
Yes.
which is quite cool. We'll chat about that in a second. But obviously to catch the fish, you're like, fuck yeah, because they're hard to get, man. Some of them are so hard.
Yeah.
Which is good. Like, I quite like the game because the difficulty is quite high, which I enjoy. I think it kind of reminds me of the old games. We spoke about this before. Back in the 80s or 90s more so, the games were so hard. Like, some of the games were insane.
Definitely.
Almost impossible to finish, some of them, right? So it was almost assumed back then games wouldn't be finished. And this game, I'm not saying this is like that, but it is very challenging. And then you get the hit when you get the fish, but then also when you can swap it to XP if you decide to. I think that creates you can have people with different motivations playing the same game now.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I think it was that moment for me when you did that made me go, okay, you're no longer just looking after the people that just want to play the game, which of course you need to, but you're also looking after the people that are there for another reason or both. And that for me was a big moment. So I do that every day now. So that one feature, retention wise for me, I've never not done a day. I've never missed a day,
Awesome.
which is probably quite crazy to hear. I'm OCD, so I'm pretty weird. Like if I've got a list to do, man, it's like I'll do it. I'm weird, but yeah, I've never missed a day. So that system that you alluded to as you're probably the best thing you've done. Well, it's the thing that got me like every day there for probably like 130, 150 days now in a row, not missing one, and that's probably quite hard to do in games. I'm guessing retention is probably one of the big metrics you look at. Am I right there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a core metric for every game builder. Our retention's been solid the last couple of months. We haven't really grown the game massively. We haven't necessarily been trying to. We have most days we average between 10 to 15,000 daily active players.
Wow, that's a lot.
Community like Discord is still very, very active. Creator is still very active. So I think even though we've kind of, typically the tail end of summer, like August is kind of a like the seasonality of summer, like is very real for a lot of industries, for a lot of apps. But yeah, we've seen a pretty steady, very consistent sort of level of retention throughout the last couple of months. I think it will start picking up soon. The reality is we're still very sort of, I think, exposed to abstract tailwinds.
Yes.
While our marketing has been very organic, and we just sort of really embed ourselves in the abstract community. Then when abstract does well and brings in net new players, then we kind of like get natural periods of growth. But we're now at a stage where, especially like post fundraising and as the game gets better and we're launching these bigger features, that I think we'll start making our own independent marketing efforts and marketing moves as well. Awesome. We won't just be sort of like kind of absorbing the peripheral effects of abstract. And I think the last comment out there about your remarks is like, yeah, as much as possible when we add in like a feature around stubs, we think like, oh well, how can we create this? How can we turn this into a little bit of a mini game as well? How can we add game theory, give you decisions to make? It may not be gameplay in the form of something visually engaging, like say fishing or the dungeon, but it's gameplay in terms of like trying to figure out what the best move is to make, and like, is this a good deal or not? Am I going to click the button or not? I'm going to go in Discord and see what other people are doing. Am I going to like use one of these like third-party tools and see what the data tells me about how many other people have taken this deal up? Am I going to like shift my faction to try to rank higher on that specific leaderboard? And so, yeah, we think a lot about features that we ship, not just being a very simple rudimentary, oh, we need people to like burn their shit, but like, hey, actually, how can we gamify it? And so, you know, we turn it into a bit of gameplay. And I actually think, like, you know, I look at this view throughout all of crypto, right? Like almost everything is a game. Trading is a game. Perps are a game. Prediction markets are a game. SocialFi is a game. So, you know, I think this is what we try to, you know, we're always trying to rationalize, like, how many games should we put out which have, you know, which take this sort of form that I'm discussing. It's not like a traditional type of game where there's this like exciting UI and visual content. It's more like a decision-making game. And then how often do we need to put out something, you know, in the more traditional sense, gameplay? Those things are just like much heavier lifts and they take a longer time. So something like the open worlds, like a lot of art assets has to be created. It's not like a 1 or 2 week feature, right? It's like a multi-month feature to build the open world. So yeah, we try to keep the balance there on those, you know, two very different types of gameplay.
I was going to ask you as well. You mentioned the abstract tailwinds, and I was having a look through your posts on X, and you put up a post. I don't know how long ago was it. Can't have been too long ago. 10th of October, or just recently. Just addressing or just commenting on you had asked whether Gigaverse has considered leaving abstract. I just wanted to touch on that, and it's not even to kind of catch you out or have a $1 million moment here. I just kind of wanted to break that down for people and just give you a sort of a chance to explain what that post was sort of talking about and sort of why you felt like you should post that and kind of what your feelings were on that, DITH.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think it was predominantly while I was out, right? It's been over the last 4 to 6 weeks that I'd seen a bunch of keeping an eye within our Discord and then also DMs and timeline and the rest. There'd been a good handful of people who either in DM or within Discord tagging me were basically like, yeah, hey, are you thinking about leaving abstract? And I could see that like there's a bit of a sentiment shift, especially with, I think, some other ecosystems kind of like ramping up, ready to go, right? Like Monad is kind of, did my claim yesterday, and that was kind of fun, to be fair.
I still need to do mine. Hopefully I get something. I haven't even done it.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, so this has come up a bunch of times. And I was like, okay, well, let me just share my thoughts publicly here. Very, very normal for any ecosystem or app to have ebb and flow, right, in terms of sentiment. I can't remember anything that's been like up and to the right for like six months plus, 12 months plus. No. Even take like Hyperliquid, which is one of my favorite crypto protocols or apps. Incredible on so many levels. But yeah, they've had different issues and pullbacks and big drawdowns and sentiment shifts and the rest, right? Since launch, no one's immune to that. I don't see why abstract would be any exception whatsoever. I think there's many fair criticisms that I see, and like what's important for any team is just to acknowledge them and to pivot accordingly, which I think is exactly what they'll do. It's what they did at launch, right? They launched and they received all kinds of criticism in the first month. They made changes and moved on. And I actually think in terms of the timeline of like, yeah, some people were hoping like, hey, by Q4, there would be this big payday or something, right? It may end up actually being like the best thing that they've let other ecosystems go first, get their launches out of the way, and then abstract can go after. Everyone's trying to speculate, obviously, where we are in the cycle, knowing that like, hey, if you have a launch or a TGE at a time that the market's absolutely ripping, everyone tends to get like a better payday. But at this point, I've spent so much time looking at like different takes from very, very smart quants who've both been right, both been wrong times before, and like clearly nobody knows what they're talking about. So I don't think we're any better or worse off, given that abstract at this point hasn't TGE'd yet, and still probably has a lot of surprises up their sleeves that they can deploy to like reinvigorate interest, renew sentiment. Everyone knows that in the space, it's literally one tweet, one tweet can change everything, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't see the same level of panic or like, hey, we need to like make a big move or anything like that. And the final point of my piece was like, if you're as a builder in this, if you're so exposed to the underlying chain that it really determines your make or break, then then your app or your game is just like not good enough.
Agreed. I
Yeah.
totally agreed with that comment. When I saw you made that, I was like, man, you couldn't have said that any better. I agree with you. I think the chain needs to work and all that sort of stuff. But once you're building on it like you are, I think it's really up to the builder, isn't it, to be successful on the chain or not? Mostly. Obviously, the team comes into it to a certain degree, and you don't want them to say anything too untoward or whatever. There's nuances to it, but I guess what I'm saying is I think you could probably launch your game on any chain and probably be successful. Is the way I look at the way.
I like to think so. Or if not, we would treat it as a forcing function. If we launched on, I don't know, some chain and it was kind of a bit of a flop, I'd like to think that our first reaction wouldn't be like, man, screw this chain. It would be like, I guess we have some work to do.
Correct.
Right? I think that's the far better outlook.
For just quickly on my take on abstract, just from what I'm seeing, I see not much different now to when things were super bullish, to be perfectly honest. And I think, like what you said, hit the nail on the head. I think people were obviously expecting a Q4 payday. Luca Netz came out and said some things that he wants to launch at the right time. People were then started to assume, well, what's the right time? Then the market pulls back. So just the way I look at it, I'm actually as bullish on abstract as I was 6 months ago, perhaps more so, because I kind of feel they've lasted this long, and apps like you have lasted this long now. So it's kind of like I feel we're not even out of the teething almost, but I think it's so much in the infancy, and I think what it really comes down to, and you said this, new shiny things came for people to chase, and people went to chase the shiny thing. And unfortunately, in crypto, we're super susceptible to that because things here move just so rapidly, probably too fast. So I'm while some people are so bearish, I'm going to back Luca and the team there. I think they've acted well. I think if as long as they've got great creators like you building with them, I will keep supporting it. I can't see, looking around, a better bet than that. I mean, Bitcoin, of course, we're talking a different product, but yeah, I just thought that was a great tweet for you to put out. I just thought it might be nice just to get you to break it down for the community, just a touch. Something a bit more exciting, because I love this team, is Chimpers. You guys have obviously DITH just semi-recently partnered with them. And if I'm right, you can win. Am I right? The person who collects the most of those little chimps wins a Chimpers. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, we love Chimpers team too.
Yeah.
I've had a bunch of I've collected Chimpers throughout my sort of like time as an NFT guy. We have obviously a bunch of other prizes up for grabs as well from our side. So yeah, I mean, we feel a lot of alignment with them in terms of like how they place value on community IP, obviously like lovable pixel art. They're absolutely killing it on their social strategy as well. Mm-hmm. I saw them announce like a milestone in terms of followers, I think on like TikTok or Instagram. So really proliferating their IP. A little bit of a no-brainer for us to like figure out like, hey, how what's the first team up look like? So super fun, and as I say, we both prizes from both sides there. And what you also see about this fishing competition is like this is the first time that you can actually like use the item from a previous competition to craft an item that helps you in this one. So for the folks who are like consistent, like yourself, who are like participating in fishing and like earning these items on a longer-term basis, there is it's not so much of an edge that like a person who doesn't have the item might not be able to compete at all, or is completely dissuaded from participation. But yeah, for everyone who's looking to min-max and like maximize their chances, then having the item from the previous fishing competition helps and gives you that edge. And obviously they're tradable as well. So someone who wants to go and buy a bunch from the marketplace because they weren't there in the last one, they want to spend $2 and buy the item and craft the thing, they can do that too.
That's super cool. I had some people in the community ask, I mean, I'm thinking this is probably a no-brainer, but will there be more collabs to come on that side of things, possibly?
Yeah, definitely. I think stuff like this we love. As time goes on, though, we're building Gigaverse in this universe of universes format, which will allow us to do probably even more creative, probably even more like interesting, new or wacky types of integration and like campaigns with other teams. So yeah, we certainly want to like lean hard into. It comes back to my point earlier, right, about doing more of our own marketing initiatives. So I think this is like a really good, like authentic, organic way to like introduce Gigaverse to net new audiences and communities, rather than doing the very sort of cringy, like, oh, I guess we'll just like do paid ads.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to do more of these over time.
I also a few more questions here because I'm aware we're quite tight on time, so I'll just bang these out pretty quick, DITH.
Yeah.
I had a question asking, is there any more information about whether there will be a GLHF's strategy? Apparently you had been open to it, and they said that you were, let me try and read this properly. Basically, the deflationary flywheel would fit that well, apparently. So it was just someone asking if
I think it really would. That was what I had tweeted about. I can't say if we're going to have one or not, though. I think, generally when I reflect, we regularly like retro our own work across all dimensions, like the stuff that we put out on Gigaverse and how we're communicating and how we're like the whole thing, right, across like sort of every aspect of the business. And I think if I reflect on the last like 2-3 months, I think in some cases we kind of provided not enough information about certain things, and other things we spoke a bit too much, maybe built up a bit of like anticipation or expectation debt around. So coming back to my desk, I want to do a bit of a reset and not be sort of forward communicating or promising absolutely everything that we're up to. I think I'm gonna start ramping up to give people like insight into the near term pipeline again. So generally, I would put this kind of thing under that under that bracket. Like if there is anything coming, we're not gonna give you a forewarning about it.
Yeah. Gotcha. Fair enough. And then another question, this actually came from Azuka as well. When is the Void dungeon coming back? Apparently this is the third dungeon that was briefly open but been closed a while now. You burn items to enter and then you receive a gacha token when you clear the dungeon.
Not till that version of the dungeon, which will update, it's not coming back until the gacha machine is, or very shortly before the gacha machine is. And we also, so going back to the point earlier about item supply and so on, we really like that we had that as kind of like we treat that almost like a fishing event. There's like a finite number of gacha coins that drop, then you need to think about protecting that supply. Maybe those gacha coins are only used, actually only those coins earn you certain types of prizes. And then every time we open the Void dungeon, we do it kind of on an event basis, and you earn different coins which earn different prizes. So there's like a reason to participate every time, just like the fishing competitions.
Gotcha.
Thinking about it in that way. And the gacha machine has actually taken a little bit longer than we intended to get live. It's like, in the bucket of things that we need to catch up on and just get out there. So that's not far away now. That's like in the near term sort of pipeline of things that we're working on.
Okay. And are those gacha tokens tradable at the moment?
They are, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you could go, so someone like me who didn't have any, I could go and grab them knowing that's coming up. Okay, that's pretty cool. And another question, this is probably one you hear all the time, because I'm asking it as well because I've got a few. When do the giglings hatch? the eggs we got?
That's the thing that we, they would have hatched already, but we had kind of overhauled, talking about like mini games, right, or decision-making games, kind of overhauled the system to actually hatch them. And it's looking really good. So I'll just say like very soon.
Cool. Just for those who don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, DITH, for those who held ROMs, you got airdropped the equivalent rarity in a little egg. And have you guys announced officially what's in the egg, DITH?
We've just said that like giglings are that is a steed, right? A
Yeah.
steed, which is like it's like a mount that you can use to move around in the open world, and a steed is a type of giggling. Or think of a giggling like a pet, right?
Yeah,
It's just
cool.
that we wanted it to be a little bit more sort of sort of IP oriented to our world. So we call them gigglings rather than pets. And a steed is just one type. There will be other types.
Okay, right. Okay, right. So that'll be coming soon. And so you've spoken about this open world. Can we get a time frame on when that's coming around, Dith? Is that possible at all? Or is it just wait kind of thing?
It's actually a dev call because we had a very basic or sort of like initial area we wanted to release, and then we decided not to. We thought like, this probably doesn't hit hard enough.
Gotcha.
And so the first version of open world that goes live will be a little bit more expansive than the initial vision, and I think it's going to be worth waiting for.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, it's ultimately my co-founder Garnish and his team are kind of at the helm of that decision. I trust their decision. I trust their like sort of like prioritization, decision-making process there, because some of our features, we talk about this a lot. Some of our features we want quick and dirty, just get it out there, let people start using it, get the feedback, improve it later. And there's others that were like, actually, we want this to be a little bit more like a moment where it hits, feels like the game has changed up a bit. And so he and his team are always kind of having that debate of like, yeah, for this particular feature, do we go lighter or heavier in terms of like the impact of the initial release?
That's probably pretty smart, because I think once that open world comes, I mean, that's one of the things I'll be rushing to go and check out. So I guess what you're saying and what your team's saying is you want that to be a pretty big wow moment for when people like me are like, fuck, let's go.
There's also like a significantly sort of different set of technical parameters to like support a feature like that.
Gotcha.
At any given point, like on an average day, we could have between like 500 to 1,500 players online. Peak peak time I think we've ever seen was like 5,000 players online at the same time. So and then there's also this sort of like engine to like, if we want to infinitely sort of we're not like hard coding this open world, right? Like designing like everything you see on screen. We're actually building an engine that builds the open world for us.
Gotcha.
And like assembles the pieces like Lego. And then we do editing, right? Then we see like the output, and we can edit or tweak anything that's kind of broken or looks funky. Significant. Like, this is completely uninteresting for players, but it's just like how the sausage is made. The technical stuff under the hood.
That's super cool. And am I right? Well, I don't know, but this is so if I go into the open world, will I be able to see other players there at the same time?
Yeah, that's the whole idea. Like,
so sick.
Yeah, really, we want the game to have social MMO vibe, right? Where you,
dude.
Yeah, and it brings meaning to like a bunch of things,
like town hall almost, and people can gather there and chat to. Can you go to chat to people there in the world? And
yeah, exactly. Like,
cool.
There's a whole thing, a whole number of things it opens up, and it's just like the base for like a lot of things, right? Once you have a world where players can see one another, then we can have more like social shenanigans with the factions. We can have a way that like you can see a player when you want to find someone for like PvP matchmaking.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's like co-op raids, you can team up that way because you can see players in the game. Maybe there's guilds, right? And guild recruitment actually becomes a lot more social and visual. And so it's just really important to get right. It sits at the foundation of like all these other things, we would later build on top of it.
The really cool thing I think about an open world is it allows humans to just do what they instinctively do as humans. And we trade, we build up factions, like you said, and we want to become powerful within that world. It's quite, I think that's going to be quite a big moment for your game. I mean, obviously you'll know that as well, but for me, that'll bring me into the game a lot more. If there's that social interaction and you can actually do quests together.
Yeah, agreed.
That for me is quite big, and I'm guessing you could go somewhere to trade with other players and things like that, and there might be a market there and things like that. I mean, I know you kind of can at the moment, but it just doesn't have that like personal thing, does it?
Yeah. Plus, from a setting perspective, you're like the player currently, in this dungeon. This is actually the Crusaders dungeon. So we have these different sort of masters of the Gigaverse, these 7 different factions.
That's right.
And so you think of each of these masters having their own sort of realm or worlds to them, right? Which all has a very distinctive. They're all very different from one another. So yeah, again, from a like art assets and like creating those worlds, there's a lot of creativity that goes in. The irony being that we know a lot of our players they're crypto gamers, right? If they can automate, if they can use tools like Fireball, that's very interesting for them. But at the same time, the game has to be real. There has to be, we have to have an honest shot at creating like entertainment value and creating like great IP and creating like visual context for stuff like for us to do this like Chimpers partnership. Like how it wouldn't make as much sense for like, why would Chimpers do a partnership with us if the game was like 100% automated, there was no visual real estate whatsoever within the game. So we have to make the effort on this stuff. And I think in the long run, it's absolutely worth it. It's just time investment.
Yeah, I appreciate what you guys have built just from one of the point of views of, and I think other people have kind of screened this at the Abstract team. It's not a gambling game or app. It kind of has functions of trading and there's risk and all that. Sure, there's a dopamine hit that you get, but it's not just pure, I'm going to bet 0.001 ETH to do something, and if I fail, I lose all my money. I like that there's layers to it. I like that I don't even have to spend money when I go and play. So I've got my ROMs already. I've spent my money. I claim them. I go and I do my fishing. So I'm not even required to put an output out if I don't want to. I can still just play, rather than say with some of those gambling games, the only way I get to play is if I put money down. So I like the fact you guys are one of the, and that's not to shame gaming apps, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong with it. I just like that there's choice. And it's great that you guys are building something so detailed and so layered that gives people something to chew over rather than quite a thin game. I'd say this is I can only imagine what it's like for you to build this. Like there's a lot to it. There's so much to it that when I was coming on to talk to you, I was like, holy shit, I've got to like relearn all the things I haven't been doing. And I actually couldn't learn all of it. There's a lot that is happening in the background that gives, I think, players many different ways to go in and enjoy something that we will. I guess what I'm saying is we can all go in there and have a different experience depending on how we are, which
Definitely.
I think. Yeah. So I guess from my point of view, thanks for building something that seems like it's got a lot of care put in. And I think the fact you'll probably get that feedback because your community is one of the strongest I've seen. And in fact, there was a girl, what's her name, Eleni, who's just
Eleni. Yeah. Awesome.
Just sold her little pudgy and copped one of yours, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" Like, and that PFP she's got now is perfect. Like, and
because it just feels like it was made for her,
dude. And I think when you've got something like you do, and you end up having raving fans, like obviously there's Rizuka, which is just he's like loves your game. It's I think it's pretty special, man. So I guess maybe you don't have these moments very much where you sit back and think, fuck, I've done pretty well. But I just want to say from my point of view of from someone who needs stuff to talk about, I'm very thankful that you've built something, I think that can show hopefully other teams the sort of quality that you can build on the Abstract portal, because, I want to see that chain do well. I love the team. I've got no dog in the fight. It's not like I know the team personally. I just like the way they behave, and I want to see the chain succeed. Obviously, I've been streaming there for a while now, so I want to see it work. But I just think it's great that you've come in, and it looks like you're giving it a fucking good go, man. Like, so that's probably enough of me glazing you before
truly appreciated, brother.
Yeah, I just think sometimes it's important to hear that sort of stuff, because I think unfortunately, being a creator myself, the loudest people can be the detractors, and the negative comments can stick to you for a little bit too much, I think. So, I'm sure you've got a thick skin, but it's just, I think sometimes it's important just to tell someone you're doing a great job, from what I can tell.
100%. I try to lean in exactly the same way. And truly appreciate your support, that from the community. There's a lot of cool stuff coming. I think folks have been patient with us over the last 4 to 6 weeks, especially while I was out. But it's all looking really, really good. So excited to get all this stuff out there in the weeks ahead.
Yeah, look, I'm pumped. Look, I'll let you go and get back to your little one. I know you're stuck on time. Dith, is there anything you want to leave us with? Is there anything you want to leave the viewers with before you go? A little tease or any little tidbit or something to kind of rustle their jimmies?
Just really to encourage people, as always, to get out there and good luck, have fun.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, look, you go get back to your kids. I know what it's like when you got a newborn. It's it's chaos.
Thank you, sir.
I'm guessing the bags under your eyes are looking worse than mine. So I will. I'll let you get back. And look, I look forward to playing the open world, and I'll continue to support you. I love what you're doing. So everyone, make sure you go and give DITH a follow on the timeline. Definitely go and make sure you check out Gigaverse on the portal on Abstract. It's an awesome game. Support builders that come here and give us cool shit to do. So DITH, thanks for jumping on. And
appreciate you, Craig.
My absolute pleasure.
Be in touch, man.
We'll keep in touch. And to the viewers out there, big love to you guys. We'll sign off there. See you guys. Ciao. See you then.
Cheers.